This podcast is a celebration of women who are shaping culture, influencing the world, and boldly stepping into the entertainment industry to create God-honoring content across all media platforms. I'm your host, Shari Rigby. Grab your coffee, settle in, and join me for an inspiring ride. Hey everyone, welcome to the Women in My World podcast. Today's guest is a storyteller who is capturing emotion in a way that feels both cinematic and deeply human. Alexa Campbell is an award-winning director based in Nashville, Tennessee, known for her emotionally driven storytelling and visually compelling work. She's received some of country music's highest honors, including a CMT Video of the Year win, a CMA nomination, and multiple ACM and CMT nominations for her work in visual media. Raised in a small farm town in Southern Illinois, Alexa brings grounded, authentic perspective to everything she creates, blending a strong work ethic, which I love, with a deep appreciation for meaningful, honest stories. Today, she's directing music videos and visual campaigns while stepping into a new season. She's developing a documentary and narrative projects that reflect her growing passion to tell redemptive, hope-filled stories that inspire courage, faith, and purpose. Please welcome my friend, Alexa Campbell.
Hi, Shari.
It is so good to have you on today. I'm so excited for us to get into these conversations because you've been doing so much work, and you and I met not long ago at a conference, and I love that you and I got to meet at a place that, in fact, I feel like I'm wearing purple today, which was their color for their college, but we got to meet, and really just I was really inspired by who you are and just how authentic you are in the work that you're getting ready to do and that you're doing already. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for just taking some time with me.
Well, thank you. That's so kind of you to say. Well, I look up to you a lot, and I was grateful you even took time to talk with me while I was there. So that's so kind of you to say.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. I was thinking about, in fact, I was talking to somebody recently and I said, I was so honored and blessed to be a part of that conference. And I said, the beautiful thing is I really believe that at the end of it, there were probably more female attendees than there were males. I loved being a part of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you were the only female speaker, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. I was so honored. I got to hang out with all my buddies, and so it was a good time. But I want to dive in and talk about you and really talk about all the things that you're doing and what you're putting your fingerprints on. But before we go any further, I want to talk a little bit about your story, where you come from. I love when I hear stories about, from young women who come from a small town, a farming community. There's so many things that I love about that, work ethic, family values, just a heart for people, I think, so often. And usually it also equates to good food. So that's usually what it is. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your backstory, where you come from, and how you found yourself here today in the entertainment and media space.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I grew up in a really small town in Southern Illinois, and there's about 4,000 people that live there. And I loved growing up in a small town. It was just always so safe and simple. My whole family on my dad's side is farmers, and grew up like we would ride the tractor with him when I was a kid and just all kinds of stuff like that. So just grew up in the country, and we would listen to country music and watch like country music videos on CMT, and just kind of like that was just my world. How I kind of got into video. So I was homeschooled and lived in a small town. And so there wasn't like a lot to do. And so I think I really just fell into like my sisters and I love to make videos for fun. We even one time we put on a play and like we wrote it, and we still have the little like pamphlet or whatever it's called where and it says directed by Alexa Campbell. But we put them in all of our neighbors' mailboxes, and they all came and brought lawn chairs and watched our like show we did with our neighbors and friends. So even just as a kid, like we loved writing stories, and I was more behind the scenes and loved directing them and entertaining. My sister and I, we had like a little YouTube show we tried to do. My friends and I, we love like making music videos just for fun. I think like kind of what really shaped me like, really loving video was when I was around 16, my parents got divorced, and it was just kind of rupture in my life and just trying to figure out like who I am and what do I believe. And that's when my relationship with God really grew. And I was making a lot of videos at my church and just every Wednesday was making a video. And they were not very good. It wasn't like they were amazing, but I think I just love the process of like writing a story, showing it to people, and we would play them at our youth group. And actually, the Cook brothers that introduced me to you,
Yeah.
they were very influential in our youth group of like getting us to make videos and kind of like leading the way in that. So that's kind of a full circle moment. I think it was a way for me to like get out of maybe the dysfunction that was happening and hurt I was feeling and process emotions and just write them into stories. I've always just really loved working. I was in the summer a lifeguard, taught swim lessons, always loved babysitting and just loved having stuff going on and working and feeling like I was contributing to the world. But when it came time to, go to college, figure out what I wanted to do with my life, growing up in a small town, there's something really beautiful about this, but it's so simple, but there's just not a lot of options. And so it seemed like if you're a guy, you do something in blue collar, like you're farming or oil or coal mine, or if you're a girl, you go into nursing or you'll be the receptionist at a bank. And I think just kind of hearing the options, it's like, man, I just feel like I really want to do something with video. And I also love photography too, and just any kind of creative visual. And coming from a small town, and it wasn't anybody was trying to like put me in a box, but this was just the world we knew. So I had a lot of people tell me that's not really a real job and you can't really make money doing that. You can't really have a career in that. But I don't even know how I really saw this, but I really just saw like a life for myself where I was doing that and it was possible. I had a conversation with my dad about it, and I said, I really want to move to Nashville and I really want to do something where I have a career in video and I really want to work with country artists. I think that would be so fun and I think I can make it happen. But he said, I don't know anybody there, so I can't call anybody for you. I can't make this happen. So if you really want it, you're going to have to make it happen for yourself. Do you think you can do that? I said, yeah, I really believe I can for some reason. And he said, okay, well, if you believe you can, I believe you can too. Yeah, I just had a lot of encouragement. My grandma was also super encouraging of me, my mom and dad. But it was something that kind of taught me, like, okay, I have to believe in myself first. Moved to Nashville in 2015, got to go to school at Belmont. And yeah, I studied their motion pictures program, but just really dealt with a lot of self doubt once I got here because a lot of kids in the program, I remember there was a kid that said like his dad created Wizards of Waverly Place, the TV show. And another guy said that his aunt worked at Paramount and they kind of came from the industry. And so I just, I think this limiting belief I had for myself was, oh, I can't make it in this industry because I'm from a small town and I don't know anybody here. And that just I just kept telling myself that. And so I just really struggled with a lot of self doubt and ended up switching my major a couple times. And I was also struggled with feeling like I didn't fit in the program because I was one of the only girls. I was also in sorority and a part of different things on campus. So there's just a lot of my activities I was in didn't match the program and I didn't fit in. And I think I thought, well, maybe I'm not supposed to do this and I don't fit in here. And so switched out. And then it was, I think, like a semester of being out of it where and I can't remember exactly. I think just different people kind of encouraging me to maybe go back into it because they said you were a lot happier whenever you were pursuing that for yourself. And when I would talk about my life, I'd be like, well, I don't really know, but I'm just going to figure it out. But when I would talk about, video, movies, film, and things, I would just had so much more excitement about it. I think that was just a huge part of my story of just overcoming self-doubt in a lot of areas. There was also a lot of things I didn't know. Like I didn't know what a producer was. I didn't know what an art director was, a first assistant director, and learning all of those jobs just felt kind of overwhelming, but also hopeful. And I didn't know what I wanted to be. But a counselor said that they thought I would be a good producer. So that ended up being my major.
Okay.
for my emphasis. So I was studying that. And yeah, we had to direct a short film, and there was one screenwriting class I had, and they talked a lot about like finding your voice and knowing what you want to say and what you want to put out in the world. And I thought, well, I'd love to put something good out in the world. So I'll do the feel good movie of the year kind of a
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
I wrote an outline and there was like nothing bad in it. And I submitted it to my professor, and he said, "Hey, there's no conflict in your outline. So you're not going to have a story without
Wow.
conflict." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, there's not supposed to be any conflict because it's the feel good movie of the year and it's going to make everyone happy and nothing bad is going to happen to the characters." He said, "Well, if the character doesn't experience conflict, the character's never going to change. And the reason people watch movies is because they want to see a character change." And that like really unlocked something for me because I think I've just been kind of like passively going through life, like, and even just questions about God because I knew God was great. And I think there was just this middle ground of my soul that I didn't understand, of different emotions we experience and conflict we experience. And I think especially with my parents' divorce kind of being a low moment of my life. And then just learning about the outline of the Save a Cat beat sheet, just learning about that all is lost moment, and then the darkest night of the soul, and then that like, pushes the character change and to lose like they lose everything they wanted to get everything they needed. And that just really helped me really understand life a little bit better. And it made me realize that, oh, I think what I have loved about stories a lot of this time was that they've given me a lot of hope, but I didn't really know why I loved watching them or loved writing them. And there were some, obviously, that outline was an example. I wasn't even doing them correctly, but I feel like that is something that I just like really gave me a lot of hope in my own conflict and struggle that I've experienced,
Mhm.
and just a better understanding that it's something that we all experience in life. Because, yeah, and it's going back to a little personal, but I think because some things that I'd experienced, church was a place that I went to where I felt really loved and safe and cared for. I just didn't talk a lot about like things I was going through and facing. And so I just thought everybody had a good life. But movies were ways that I would see, oh, I've seen a character struggle and go through this and different things. I ended up, because that professor kind of unlocked that for me, I was able to write a story that felt, it had conflict in it, but it felt more honest to what I kind of was processing. I put it into a character, and it ended up being just kind of a pivotal moment for me where I really loved directing
Mm.
and thought there's something here that I feel like I really want to do in a way that I could express myself, but put them in other characters. My professors were so kind. Like after I made that, a lot of them said, "You need to be a director. I can tell you have something you want to say." And
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing about being a director is you have
So
to know what you believe and know what you want to say.
yeah.
And I started working in country music in Nashville, and but
No, it's so
yeah.
well, it's so good. I love what you're sharing because I had a couple conversations recently where there's so many things in our childhood that points back
Mhm.
to this creative call on our life. And sometimes we don't even recognize it at the moment. But I love, like, you're even talking about putting on shows for your family or your neighborhood.
Mhm.
And I remember doing the same thing. And there's these little elements or pieces that would point us all back to a moment in our life or things that really moved us or encouraged us or without
Mhm.
even finding, and I remember, I can tell you this right now, when I was doing the shows with my family and cousins and stuff, I was the bossiest one out of the entire bunch. So I know, like, the directing, like, I'd be like, "You stand over here. No, you're gonna wear this." But what I realize now as I've gotten older, that those moments were really calling me into something that I'm doing today and that I love
Mhm.
what I do today. Was there a moment for you, because you shared some great pieces with us, especially from childhood and inspiration and, just picking up a camera and doing something and telling stories. Do you feel like there was a specific moment, and maybe it's when you were learning about writing, that in that moment it was the Lord saying, "You've been called to create. This is where you're going to be. It's not going to be easy, but this is where I've called you." I
Mhm.
do believe scripturally, I do believe that when He appoints us, He will anoint us. it's so cliche to say that, but yet at the same time, I think there's a lot of truth in that. So, do you think there was one specific moment that you could pinpoint to say that was the turn, and I knew in that moment that no matter what, this is where I was going to be at?
That's such a good question. I think it was after I made that first short film, and it was not a cinematic masterpiece by any means. It made a lot of people cry, and that's kind of what they told me. And then we had a showing in our theater, and I had two professors that were very pivotal for me. One was super kind, emotionally intuitive, like really tried to pull out all of our emotions and get them on paper, and so like tender with that. And that was super helpful for me. And I had another one, he served in overseas, and I can't remember which war. And then he came back from war and went to USC Film School and had a directing career in Nashville. So his approach was, if you want to be a director, you've got to be tough and you've got to know who you are. And it was so, and everyone was scared of him, and just this very tough guy. But there was something about him that I always really love because he was so challenging. If he thought something was bad, he would tell you. If he rarely said anything was good. After the premiere of our like, short films, he wanted me to come to his office and talk. Yeah, I was so nervous because I thought I'd done something wrong.
Oh.
But he said, I want you to know your film, he was like, I never cry, and your film made me cry. And I can tell there's something about you that you need to be a director. And he was like, he gave me all this advice. He was like, don't ever quit. And I don't know why there was something about that. It even kind of makes me emotional thinking about it because I felt like, I don't know, it's just always encouraging when you feel like someone who's so critical sees something in you that I didn't like quite see in myself. Yeah, I feel like that probably was a moment for me that I still go back to when I think about quitting is him telling me to not quit.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
it's tough and you're gonna have to roll with the punches, but you've got
Yeah.
it. I think that's such great advice, especially directing, because it is a lot and it is something that we have to continue to grow and sharpen our skills. And I love that it sounds like the story that you told was something that was near and dear to you as well. And so there was a place that you wrote that from that encouraged not only you to be the storyteller of that story, but also the audience was going to go on a journey with you. And I think, everything that we do in our craft, especially whether believers, but even more so, I guess, is that we're telling stories that show a redemption or a place where we can take people to really experience something emotionally that they may not even know that they need to work on. It could be a dramatic piece, it could be a comedic piece, but there's something internally that touches them and takes them and emotionally reminds them of something that they need to be thinking about, and why do they connect with it. So I love that. You went to Nashville, you stepped into something. So to me already you're tackling big things right away. You step into a new place, a new city that is hustling and bustling. You go to Belmont, which is one of the largest universities there. And it's in an area where you've got Vanderbilt and all of these other schools that are tackling a lot of great things. And you go into their film program and you come out of that. And here you are today now, and you're making music videos and you're doing some other great work visually as well. But some of the things I want to talk a little bit about too is that I was watching a bunch of the links that you sent me, and I'm thinking about, here you are making these incredible stories, and I'm going to relate this to your storytelling here, but you've worked with, female artists like Carly Pierce and Ann Wilson, and one of my all-time favorites, and I just love her, and she's so young, is Gabby Barrett. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you just how much I adore this young woman and just the art of probably more so of who she is as a believer and a wife and just her faith and how everything I see her do represents that. And one of my favorite music videos that she did was Pick Me Up, where it's
Oh, I did that one.
I know you did. I'm like, what? I'm watching, I'm like, what? And so it really resonated with me though on the stories that you're telling. But where I'm going with that is that you're telling these incredible female stories. I mean, I know you've worked with a lot of men. We'll talk about that too, that are, huge in the industry, but you've worked with these women, you're telling these great stories. Talk a little bit about your life experiences and how you've helped to shape
whether you're writing, directing, producing, and editing these stories, how they've influenced you to walk alongside of these artists to tell the stories that they're going to tell on screen, not only visually, but through their music really is at the end of the day. And so talk a little bit about how you help to formulate those stories and through the different mediums that you've been working through writing, producing, directing.
Something I hear people say a lot is write what you know,
Mm-hmm.
but which I think is really great advice. But with a lot of the artists I've worked with, they've walked through things that they've written songs about that I haven't walked through. But it's still, I try to go to the core emotion that I feel, if that's sadness or hope, just the sentiment of family or the value of time and just different things like that, and try to find those core themes that are happening or feelings that I feel whenever I hear the song.
Mm-hmm.
But for Carly Pierce specifically, I just love her and think she's awesome. But a lot of the songs and music videos I've done for her have been around a divorce she had. And I've never been divorced, but my parents have, which I mentioned. And so I just remember as a kid just being very observant of what my mom was feeling and going through and watch how she processed things. And it was kind of therapeutic for me to go back and process that stuff and also kind of realize maybe what she was going through that I didn't realize at the time. So I also pull from like what I've observed from other people, but then feelings I felt, because we've all felt sad before at times. There was one I did where it's a couple in a relationship and the house burns down at the end. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember someone said, Alexa, where do you get these dark ideas? I was like, "Oh, I just wasn't really thinking about it like that." I think it's just trying to think of how that would feel if I experienced it and taking what I've seen and known from different scenarios I've faced. But and yeah, and with Gabby, a lot of her stuff was around her family and her husband, like
Mm-hmm.
wonderful husband, wonderful kids, and that's a life I haven't experienced yet either. But I've seen that in other people, in my friends, and even some of my older siblings who are married and have awesome husbands and kids and everything. So pull from things I've seen, because we did one video for Gabby called The Glory Days, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
shots of like playing outside and this kind of just the simple things in life being
Yep.
the glory days. And I just pulled from things I've seen, like when I've been at my brother's house with his wife and kids and what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wrote ideas from that. And also trying to serve their story well, because I don't want to put myself too much into it because it's their song and it's for them and their story. But that's kind of how I pull from my own life to try to serve the story in that way.
Hey friends, if you're enjoying today's episode, we'd love your support. Hit like, subscribe, comment, and share this video, which helps us grow the channel that directly supports the women in my world and our mission to develop, educate, and launch Christian women in the entertainment and media industry. Every action you take truly makes a difference in our ministry. And now we'd like to share a brief video about the heart and mission behind the women in my world. Thank you for being a part of this incredible journey with us. Hi, I'm Shari Rigby, the founder of the Women in My World. Our goal is simple but powerful. We focus on developing, educating, and launching Christian women in entertainment and media. Our aim is to train up emerging talent, empower them to craft impactful, God-honoring content across various platforms, and contribute to positive global change through leadership roles. We invest in women by providing opportunities to learn essential skills in their desired field. Through hands-on education and on-the-job training, we build a community of like-minded women who shepherd others to grow and flourish in their careers. The Women in My World has helped support and launch women into key positions, such as producers, script supervisors, production and costume designers, directors, makeup and hair artists, and so many more. These women have gone on to expand their resumes and their relationships, which have provided opportunities to work on major network television shows and feature films. Due to the small percentage of Christian women in decision-making roles in entertainment, believers must invest in their training, mentoring, and discipleship. These women can then become a voice to change in the negative narratives influencing our culture and shed light on topics we desperately need to tackle from a biblical worldview. The Women in My World is honored to help support women and their careers in entertainment and media as they bring redemptive stories to life and uplift, encourage, and influence the world for Christ.
So on the videos then and what you're doing on the music side, are you writing most of them, or do they also bring you an idea that's already been written? And, I guess in my world, we call that the director for hire. So maybe you've done both, or are you primarily writing, directing, and then editing? Basically, you're from the development all the way through deliverables for a music video. Is that something that you do, or?
Typically, it's usually the label will reach out with the song and the budget, and
Gotcha.
they'll say, like, "Hey, Alexa, here's a new song for this artist, and this is the budget we have. What would you want to do? Write us a treatment." And sometimes they'll say, "Can you give us something tomorrow?" Sometimes it's, yeah, sometimes you have a week, sometimes you have a couple of days, but I'll just take it from there. I have a whole process for how I write. Yeah, sometimes they'll have, like, the artist really wants to do a performance like this, or the artist kind of has an idea for this, but it's kind of rare. It's usually they're reaching out because they need an idea.
How did you get started in music videos? Because it's like
Mm.
I'm sure everybody's going, okay, Nashville, country music, faith music, like everything is there. What was that moment for you starting in the music industry? How did that come about?
So I started in the music industry as a tour photographer. So that was how I got in. And it started because there was an artist that I went to Belmont with that she wanted me to go on the road with her. And just doing one weekend with her, posted the photos on Instagram, and a few different managers reached out and got a few jobs through that. And then I had a friend that put me on the road with an artist. And so I was doing that for a while. And then through doing that, I got to know Carly Pierce, who is a huge pivotal part of my story. And so I started touring with her. She's just a very, like, personable person. Like, she wants to know, like, who you are and what you want to do and what your goals are. And so she knew my dream was to be a director. She had a song coming out. It was called Never Wanted to Be That Girl, and it was with Ashley McBride. And I was in the studio with her when she recorded the song, and I knew why she wrote it, and I felt attached to the song in some way, and just really loved it. I thought it was amazing because I thought it was a unique way of talking about a situation like that, because so many, female country songs are about cheating, but I felt like this one was really introspective and kind of peeled back of saying, like, this is never who I wanted to become on, like, both ends of it. And I thought that was so powerful. But I wrote a treatment for her video, and we were on the road, and I told her assistant about it first, and who's one of her close friends. And she's so sweet, and we ended up just talking about it, and I pitched the idea to Carly and showed her the treatment, and she said, "I love it, and I want you to do it." And I was shocked because I had been trying to, like, I'd told several different labels in town I wanted to be a director, and they were never rude or anything, but they were like, "All right, well, you need to direct something first." And so it's kind of hard to kind of get a chance to direct because they want you to direct before you're hired to direct. So, which makes sense. But I felt like Carly really gave me the fast pass in a way, let me direct a pretty big song for her with a good budget and everything. And so that was kind of my first video I directed. And then from there, I was able to direct more and start a production company.
I love it. I love it. Look at you. You're just going. God opened up those incredible doors. So, talk a little bit about, here you've done some great things with us already. You're telling stories, music videos, you're working with great artists. Is there something in the industry so far? Because you've been on tour, you've obviously worked in the industry now for a while, you've done the videos, you've done still photography. Is there something that entertainment and media industry that's really surprised you that you would have never thought about before? And if so, how did you tackle that?
Wow, that's a good question. Something that's really surprised me. I think there was maybe a level of, I knew it'd be hard work, but I think there was a level of, like, glamour I saw to it maybe before moving here, that I saw in Hollywood and the entertainment industry. And I think working in it, which I like this more, but I feel like it's way more about just personal relationships you have with people. It's like people helping each other out and who they like working with. And I think sometimes too, just the element of hard work involved. I also thought too, because I would look at behind the scenes videos of directors and they were on set and it was so awesome
Right.
and so fun. And I think I thought every day was going to be like that. And I think I didn't know that a lot of it would be trying to market yourself and spend time alone writing ideas and more of a lonely aspect to it, I guess. In some ways that I wasn't expecting, maybe harder work than people think, than maybe I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it because people always, when we talk about that, I go, there's about a couple hours, maybe if you're lucky, of glamour. And that might be if you get to go do a red carpet. Other than that, it
Yeah.
is really hard work. I always say we are mentally, physically, and spiritually, by the time we're done, bankrupt. We're hearing multiple voices because there's so many people talking to us at one time.
Yes.
You know, it's not a glamorous part of the job, but I love that. I love that you said that because really it is a lot of work. I always find it amusing. I'm gonna use the word amusing because
Mhm.
I have people that have said before, whether it's been acting or directing, producing, writing, they've used the term that they think it's really easy and that anybody could
Mhm.
do it. I always wanna step into that moment and go, then that's something that you should try. Because if you think it's that easy, because I've had people literally go, I can do that. I can do that. And you go, you have no
Yeah.
idea what you're saying right now. No, it's any profession where you have to go through a process, whether it's education at a school and I think one of the biggest educations for all of us, especially in entertainment and media, is just being on a set, right? It's
Yes.
learning camera and lighting. It's learning the art of storytelling. It's learning how to navigate your cast and your crew and have these relationships and understanding, time is money and money is time. Like there's all these things that are happening and we see this, Hollywood red carpets and award ceremonies, but we don't get to see what really is the day-to-day of what it looks like for us to be on a set and navigate all of the things that we're doing and then to turn around and deliver a project, right? It's like the next
Yeah.
process of it. Tell me a little bit about one of the favorite stories so far that you've been able to tell. And maybe you just told us about Carly's video, but has there
Mhm.
been a moment on one of the sets that you've been on where it's been really just an inspiration to you? Might have even been your hardest moment, but it really inspired you and really allowed you or made you lean into your faith even more so where God has placed you. Has there been a moment like that on one of your sets?
You asked the best
Oh,
questions.
good. I'm right. That's awesome.
My mind immediately just goes to the first video I did, the Never Wanted to Be That Girl one, just because I feel like it just felt like there was a lot of pressure involved, but I also had so much peace.
Mm,
And, um, and I think that just the support I had from Carly just meant a lot to me. And because there was just a little pushback with the label, and which rightfully so, because they were taking a chance on someone that didn't have experience. And I would have done the same thing. But they're just a little cautious about it. I think I feel really proud of myself because and just the team I had too. It's one of my favorite crews I've had because I talked to a few like, credible DPs in town and they said they didn't really want to shoot it.
wow.
Yeah, and which was fine, but I ended up working with my friend Dylan, I don't think he had done a narrative music video before ever. And then my friend Ryan produced it that I went to film school with. And it was just a very like we were all new kind of a situation. We just worked on it every day and we were so determined to figure it out, make it good. I feel like for the knowledge we had, we did great. And
Yeah.
I think just to get the feedback that it got was super helpful. And I used to like, sometimes I go back and watch my work and that one specifically, I can see so many mistakes I made. But as I do it,
You will forever.
I think just it's also kind of nice to look back and think, okay, at that time, I didn't know a lot. And that was awesome for what I knew and just being like proud of myself in that way.
Mm.
So I'm training for this half marathon right now. And
Right.
I feel like there are specific things in that I've been learning that have kind of helped me in the creative industry.
Mhm.
But there's just so many people that I feel like people compare their mileage to each other. Well, I'm at 9 miles and I'm at 6 and my
Yeah.
pace is at 7:30. But we're all running the race and we're all kind of running our own race in a sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's really helped me to compare that creatively to think I ran 7 miles the other day and I was really proud of myself because that's for me, that was a lot. And I think kind of that's what I'm trying to do more with my work is, at that time, the Never Want to Be That Girl music video for me, that was a lot and I did it. And I'm so proud of myself. But if I were to do it today, it would probably look a lot different. I'll probably continue to do that because there's so many other things I want to try too, like documentaries, and I want to do a movie someday. And same with the half marathons. I kind of think it'd be fun to do a full marathon, but I'm not ready for that yet. Just trying to, prepare in those ways. But
To
the
take
comparison thing has helped.
It's so good. That is such a good way of looking at it. And I love that God has got you in this moment in this season where you're preparing for that because we do all have our own race. And if we try to
Mhm.
run somebody else's race, we're missing out on what God has for us. And we know for us it's the best for what he has for us, you know.
Mhm.
And I think that's such a great example. There's a few things I want to talk about before we wrap up. One of the things as a storyteller, you and I have had a couple conversations and just thinking about values and integrity and character and the skills of our hands. And, we're going to talk a little bit about where you want to go with documentaries and feature
Mhm.
films. And you have a long, journey and life and exciting things ahead of you. But talk to me a little bit about, you've worked with some of these great folks in the
Mhm.
music space, right? Really great names. You've also worked with some men. I have to mention men as well. You've had Chris
Yeah.
Stapleton, Bailey Zimmerman. But what I want to ask you is when you're tackling these different music videos with these people and these storytellers, what role do you believe that storytelling plays in shaping the culture right now? And how do you personally, as Alexa, choose the stories that you want to be part of or share or tell in general?
That's a big question because I do believe that what we see on a screen does impact our lives in some way, whether we think it does or not, like down all the way down to social media and
Mm-hmm.
movies and stories and everything. So I there are like certain things that I w- wouldn't probably choose to be a part of because I don't align with my values. I think everyone I've worked with in Nashville has just been so wonderful. I feel like, and something I love about country music is they say it's three chords and the truth. So it really is rooted in a lot of people's real life experiences. And I think that's something that I've really drawn to. And it's really like narrowed down so simply sometimes of this is about heartbreak or this is about the value of family and things like that where I'm like, I care if you've been heartbroken. Like, let's craft a story around that. Or I love that you are a wonderful mom. Let's craft a story around that. So they're all like things I care about. And I think something I believe about storytelling is that it helps create empathy
Mm-hmm.
and understanding what people go through. And so, even though I feel like most of my work is on the sad side, I think it's still valuable to have because I think it's important to stay soft and tenderhearted. You don't want to stay in that sad season all the time, but I think it's important to know that you never know what someone's going through and what they're experiencing. When people talk about their stories, sometimes if they're verbally talking about it, it's just a short part where they say, and this was the
Mhm.
hardest time of my life. And it's just a sentence. But
Yeah.
if you see it visually in a music video or a movie, I feel like that's where you really can have empathy for someone and feel what they felt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the value I see in it of just people having more empathy for people and what people have gone through.
Telling the stories. I love that. Well, that leads me to my next question with you because you shared some quotes with us and I thought these were brilliant. And you had a couple quotes from your grandma, and then I love
Oh,
Erwin
yeah.
McManus. But your grandmother said to put your dreams in your calendar, right? That was a
Yeah,
quote.
yeah.
And a
Yes.
winner is a dreamer who never gives up. I love that.
Mhm.
I mean, there's multiple here. Don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from, which is brilliant
Mhm.
beyond measure.
Mhm.
Erwin McManus was one of my favorites when I was living in Los Angeles, but this is where it's going to
Oh.
lead me off of him and then your grandmother's quotes. You have a quote from him: "Don't let anyone else build your world for you. If they do, they will build it too small." What
Mhm.
would you tell somebody who is listening right now that they have been in a place where they're dreaming of doing exactly what you're doing, dreaming of tackling, whether it's the music industry or we're going to talk about documentaries or filmmaking, but they want to be part of the entertainment and media world. What would you tell the listener or the viewer about the journey? If you could give that person three things to tackle or three things to say to them so that they would build their world just as big as the Lord would want them to, what would you say?
Mm. I would say if you are a believer, really spend time knowing how God created you
Mhm.
because God's voice is always kind, encouraging, and it's going to call you higher. And it's okay if people don't want to do big things. But I think if you want to, your relationship with God, like the stronger that is, that's going to help you to have that strength and your identity be so strong that when people do try to tell you who you are, it doesn't stick as much. Taking it back to knowing who you are in Christ and just letting encouragement build you up, but not be like what you're craving as you're going out in the world is
Mm.
important.
Well, I think for you too, I would say even what you've done is step out in faith. The risk, I think that even just seeing a need and filling it with Carly and being so connected to something and learning, taking steps and just doing what God was calling you to do. Step out in faith is a big deal. And then learning it along the way that you go, right? You're putting your team together and all those things.
Yeah. Another thing is stepping out before you really have it all figured out. And I think you want to know as much as you can. But I think something I've kind of learned is if you wait until things are perfect or you wait until you're fully
Mm.
ready, you may never do anything.
Yeah. Yes.
And yeah. And I've heard some people say "Go fake it till you make it." And there's part of that advice that I don't love because I
Mm-mm.
think that if you go into something knowing you're faking your confidence, you're really not gonna do that great. But if you truly believe in yourself and if you think, okay, I know as much as I need to know to make this happen, and I trust myself that I can figure it out. I think that you're going to go a lot farther with that.
Mhm.
Also, going back to if you believe you can, I think you can too. I think so much of what you tell yourself really impacts
Mhm.
how you move in the world.
Absolutely. It's like speaking life over yourself instead of death, right? Just like we do
Mhm.
with others. But those are really good pieces of advice. And I think that so often we forget about those things. We forget how, we're supposed to navigate that. I love that you said, to let's not fake it till we make it. The
Yeah.
I have been on sets before where we've hired people who have said that they can do something and they're not able
Mhm.
to do it, and it's not just a reflection upon them, it also hinders a pretty large group of people too. And so
It
I would
is.
much rather have somebody come in and say, "You know what? I'm not really sure how to do that, but I'm gonna figure that out." Or is there
Mhm.
somebody who can help walk alongside of me to do that? And I think that's really important. And I love what you shared. Two things I want to talk about before we hang up. One thing is this, and leading into this, you shared a little bit of information with me as we were coming on today about just what we're talking about is having somebody walk alongside of you in shadow. Tell us a little bit about that because you're basically pouring into another woman. This is something that's so needed in our industry right now. Talk about how you're serving this young lady today and also just what that might have looked like for you and how would you encourage somebody else to either speak up and ask for help in an area that they want to be part of or how somebody else can serve others with the gifts and talents that they've been given.
Yeah. Well, I think it's new for me because for a long time I viewed myself as the one that still needed help and I still view myself that way.
Mhm.
This opportunity came about because a teacher at a high school reached out. This girl, she's so sweet. She's a senior in high school, wants to
Mhm.
be a filmmaker. I just really enjoyed my time with her and it was so sweet, the questions she had. And I kind of saw like, similarities in her that I saw in myself. And I also really respected that she was making an initiative, even if it
Yeah.
was required for school, to figure out who she is and what she wants to do. I think another thing that I really respected about her was she told me she wanted to do animation someday. And I asked her if she had ever started drawing, and I was kind of expecting for her to say no. And she said yes, and she had already created like
Mhm.
was a talented illustrator and has already learned animation and had a whole
Wow.
portfolio already. And I just really respected the work ethic too. I think that probably goes back to my Midwest roots, but I love to see when people try, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes when I hear people say they want to do something, and this is something I have noticed, sometimes people will reach out, and I think there's something really sweet about this, but they'll say things like, I'm praying for God to give me the opportunities he's given you, or I'm praying to have the job you have. And
Mm.
I really love that because there is such a sweetness about that. But I think there's also like a co-labor with it where you've got to put in the work too. And then sometimes I'll give advice like, oh yeah, it's definitely prayer, but it's also you should go shoot something or you should go write something, and there's that work ethic's not there. So I think that's something yeah, the Midwest values. We love a good work ethic.
We
So
do. We do. It's like early to
yeah.
rise because the sun's got to come up and the sun doesn't go down until very late at night and you're working the whole time. I think
Yeah.
that's really good. I think that when you see the initiative from somebody, that's when you want to step in and help them too. I talk about that all the time. People will reach out to me and they'll go, hey, what do you think about discipling me? Or would you mentor me or whatever? And I always start with a few little things. And the moment that I see that they've stepped in and they're actually initiating, I go, okay, that's the person, because there's
Mhm.
been too many times when I've had that question asked to me or they want to come and do something and then they don't follow through. They're expecting something else. And I
Mhm.
love a good work ethic and I love follow through. And I think it proves over and over again that talents that God has given us and hard work, when those two things are mixed together, they will
Mhm.
always, always outweigh talent than
Mhm.
just talent. Like they hard work and talent have to go hand in hand. I'll take
Mhm.
somebody every day who works really hard over their talent because that's just I can't get people to come to work every day with a work ethic even though they're talented.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So it's a
Mhm.
really it's a beautiful thing to watch and see it. I want to talk a little bit before we go about documentaries and feature films and your dreams of what's on your heart right now to create and where are you taking some steps to do this next project that you've shared with me a little bit about?
Yeah. Well, this is fun. It feels crazy to talk about because I've only shared this with a couple people. Like, I do want to try to make feature films and documentaries and even TV shows someday. Yeah, I think I'm still trying to figure out exactly what my voice is, and that's something that a director that I really look up to a lot, he, was telling me, like, I need to figure out what that is,
Mm.
and do a short film was probably a good way to try to figure that out because I haven't done that short film that I did for school is a few years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
and I've grown so much in my storytelling ability, my directing ability, so I'm so curious what that would look like now if I were to make something.
Mm.
And then there's also a little fear of what if it's not good, but I still really want to try. And so, yeah, he gave me a lot of great questions to ask myself and things to figure that out. I would love to tell stories of like female leads, just something that feels super inspiring.
Yeah.
And something that I learned from my professor that was the tough one. He always said, whenever people leave the theater or they leave, the credits roll, what are they taking home with them?
Yes.
And what emotional experience are you leaving them with? Because it can
Mm.
transform their hearts and even change the way they live their lives if you do it right. But I think about that a lot. And I think I'd love to leave. I think especially women, and I would love to inspire anyone, but I want people to live more hope filled lives. Just know that there is so much possibility for them and to believe in themselves more and just experience a like fuller life with Jesus and just that hope we have in him.
I love it. Do you have a favorite movie or story that has always, I mean, because I know I have a few that I've watched. I can't even tell you. It's almost
Mm,
embarrassing to talk about how many times I've watched it. Is there one for you in a certain genre that you love?
The movies that I love and watch now are used for inspiration for like, cinematography and treatments is different than the one I'm about to talk about. But when I was a kid, my favorite movie was Soul Surfer. It was really impactful to me because for kids' movies, there was nothing like it. And I felt like there was something about her character that I could see myself in some ways because she, was blonde, loved the water, just little elements
Yeah.
like that I could see myself in. But something that stood out to me was her bravery and willingness to try again after experiencing a traumatic event in her life. I think just things like that I thought were really inspiring. There's a quote I love in that, but it's when she's about to surf again
Mhm.
and after she loses her arm and Dennis Quaid says it's not going to be easy and she says I don't need easy, I just need possible. And there was something about even that movie quote that just stayed in the back of my mind. And I've watched that movie now and it's not like stylistically what I would want to do today, but the story and what it did for me as a kid, it just instilled a lot of belief and hope and bravery in me. And so I would love to make movies like that that young girls can watch and just instill those feelings in them.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I love that. And I love that quote. It is so good. You need to put that straight up on your mirror and never leave it
Mhm.
off. And like that is the one where you're at, I think, even in the season of your life, which is so great.
Mhm.
Tell everybody where they can follow you, how they can support you, and just watch you go on this journey with you. That's the biggest thing, right? As storytellers, we get to be on a journey ourselves and watch how our stories unfold. So how can people follow you and support you?
That's so sweet. AlexaCampbell.tv is my website, and most of my work is on there. And if you want to follow on Instagram, it's Alexa_Campbell. And I try to post work and life on there.
Well, Alexa, thank you for joining me today in the Women in My World. You are so inspiring. Thank you for just sharing your heart and your testimony and the journey that you've been on. And I'm so excited to see what God is going to do in your life and through you and the stories that you're going to tell. I am just going to be praying for all of the open doors that God is calling you to. And I'm going to also be praying that He downloads to you what kind of storyteller you are. I think you're going to go on a big open highway and He's just going to take you in and out through traffic as He tells you where and what story He has for you to tell next. Keep inspiring, continue to walk in your faith and your courage and all the things that you're doing. And I look forward to seeing what's next.
Well, thank you, Shari. That's so kind. I appreciate you having me. This is so sweet of you.
We hope today's episode inspired you. If it did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with somebody in your world so we can reach more and more amazing women in entertainment and media. We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a comment below. Your support truly means the world to us, and it helps us keep doing this important work. Also, don't miss out on signing up for our newsletter, and you get our acting prep guide for free. It's packed with tips to help you step into your purpose. If you feel led, also please consider donating to support our ministry. All the links are in the show notes below. We can't wait to hear from you to join us next time.